Welcome to this presentation entitled Untangling the TID Rollover. This deals with how TID Conservation allows utilities to selectively adopt STS 6 and corresponding security module changes regardless of the 2024 STS TID Rollover. Dodge the TID Rollover with TID Conservation. Are you impacted by the TID Rollover? If you have STS meters, then yes you are. While every attempt has been made to ensure the accuracy of information provided in this presentation, you're strongly advised to refer to the document references provided in order to form your own opinion and resolution strategy. The references made to STS documents can be obtained from the STS Association. So to start with, let's examine the basics. What is a TID? A TID is a short name for Token Identifier, and it's used to uniquely identify a token for a given STS meter as part of the STS algorithm. Each time a token is generated, a TID value is used based on the current generation date and time. It's accurate to 1 minute and from a particular start date or base date. Currently, the original and first base date being the 1st of January 1993. The TID value is essential in order for an STS meter to prevent tokens from being reused, so that the meter only accepts credit once from any given token. What is a TID rollover? Well, meter memory is finite, and a meter simply can't record every token that it has ever accepted. Instead, it keeps in its memory, what we call a TID stack, a record of the most recent TID values that have been accepted. In other words, it keeps a record of the most recent tokens. Unfortunately, the maximum TID value that can be used is also finite and cannot be increased indefinitely. Using the current STS TID algorithm, the TID value will reach its maximum value for the 1993 TID base date on the 24th of November 2024. On this date, the TID value will start again from 0, that's why we call it a TID rollover, and all subsequently generated credit tokens will be rejected as being too old by the STS meters, even though they aren't. It's not possible to go back and reuse old TID values from the past because the TID stack mechanism inherently relies on the fact that TID values only increase with time. What is TID conservation? Well, TID conservation uses a different algorithm prescribed by the STS Association in order to derive TID values. The TID conservation algorithm conserves TID values so that they are not wasted, and in so doing, it significantly extends the TID rollover date by many decades. The TID conservation algorithm can be enabled or disabled by the utility as desired. The actual token generation date time, which is used in the STS TID generation algorithm, can always be derived from the TID conservation algorithm if required, so you can always work backwards. Adopting the TID conservation algorithm is independent of STS 6 and corresponding security module changes, an extremely important part to realize. And the TID conservation algorithm can be selectively applied over time to specific meters via their supply group, so it's not an all or nothing approach. It's always easier to represent these things graphically. We can have a look that the current STS TID generation algorithm is a straight line, which is going to reach its maximum value on the 24th of November, and that's when the max TID value of a hexadecimal value of 6Fs will be reached. You can also see that we're about 80% of the way through that at the moment. However, by adopting TID conservation from a specific transition date, we can see that the slope of the graph representing the usage of TID values is greatly reduced, and most importantly, the TID conservation significantly extends the prospective TID rollover date, in this example from 2024 to 2095. The STS Association has published 2 documents that relate to the TID rollover. One is STS 402-1 and the other is STS 1800-3. We're going to have a look at these in a little bit more detail. What is STS 402-1? Well, the STS Association has published a code of practice document describing a management process for the TID rollover and is recommended reading for utilities. Of particular importance to utilities are the requisite and significant assumptions given in section 12.1. attention is drawn to section 12.2, which broadly defines the process that a utility will need to follow. And of most importance to utilities is section 12.3, which outlines the different ways that the required key change tokens can be distributed to meters. Some utilities are of the opinion that this process can be done by the utility, option 1, while others that it can be done by the consumers themselves. Based on the reticence of utilities not to perform bulk key change tokens in the past, it's clear that the process is significantly challenging either way. What is STS 18003? The STS Association published further details and expected timelines for the TID rollover process in this document, and is again recommended reading. The document also makes reference to additional STS features that are informally and rather confusingly referred to within the industry as STS 6. Unfortunately, in the STS 18003 document, the STS 6 requirements and the TID rollover process have become entangled, hence the name of this presentation. See section 2 entitled Benefits of a TID rollover, when in fact the TID rollover is a separate issue, as will be demonstrated in this presentation. In fact, the TID rollover has no benefits of itself and presents significant challenges to utilities. Section 4 describes an action plan to deal with the impact of the proposed changes. Importantly, as can be seen, the action plan is very wide-reaching as a result of the large number of STS 6 changes required, of which the TID rollover has now become a part. The significant downside of incorporating the TID rollover in these changes is that it has introduced a time limit, the TID rollover date, which all parties must now adopt, whether or not they wanted the additional STS 6 features. So let's now have a look at what the STS 6 features are. The STS 6 features are broadly covered in another document by the STS Association called STS 202-3. This document is an addendum to the STS specification, which is an IEC specification, but the document is very technical in nature. Primarily, the document describes changes to the STS encryption algorithm and key management, which for some reason in the marketplace seem to have adopted the informal name of STS 6 as mentioned previously. While no doubt the intentions are admirable, the changes have and continue to require significant changes to all aspects of an STS system: key management, key distribution, vending systems, and meters. These impacts were broadly outlined in STS 18003 as previously indicated. What STS 6 is? Unfortunately, the new features referred to as STS 6 aren't well understood in the marketplace. So given this confusion, I shall refer to STS 6 as those features that pertain to the wide-ranging impacts related to the following. Number 1, the adoption of new STS encryption algorithm. Number 2, much better key management. And number 3, incorporation of the STS 4021 process to deal with the TID rollover. So now, let's look at what STS 6 is not. Again, given the confusion, it's important to note that the following features have already been implemented and are supported with current encryption and security module technology and available in various vending systems already. So I have therefore excluded them from my definition of what STS 6 is. So the vending of currency tokens, commonly referred to as CTS, is already available, as is 4-digit manufacturer code support. There is one very important and further aspect that has somehow got confused with the TID rollover, and that pertains to ghost vending. Ghost vending is the fraudulent dispensing of tokens to consumers using illegally acquired STS security module keys. There's a misconception in the market that the implementation of STS 6 is a mandatory requirement in order to eliminate ghost vending. But in actuality, ghost vending can be addressed right now by creating new keys and dispensing key change tokens to consumers, exactly as is proposed to deal with the 2024 TID rollover problem. However, utilities have been loath to do this because of the significant disruption it may cause to consumers. Note that STS 6 also requires new keys and key change tokens to be issued. The generation of new keys and key change tokens is a top-down approach to ghost vending. We would recommend, though, that a bottom-up approach which targets specific high-risk consumers will be very effective, particularly when combined with improved revenue protection technology and processes. So as I have mentioned, STS 6 requires new security modules, new API. So now we're going to have a look at the impacts of the new security module technology. The new security modules required to support the STS 6 key load and encryption algorithms have recently been developed by PrismNet 1. Unfortunately, they have also introduced a change to the pricing of STS 6 security modules to the one which was previously used. This time it is limited by time or the number of tokens issued. The new security module pricing model has significantly increased the cost of token generation for utilities. As discussed earlier, because the TID rollover process has now become entangled in the STS 6 functionality, the TID rollover date has introduced, prior to the introduction of TID Conservation anyway, a non-optional adoption of the STS 6 security modules and corresponding pricing to utilities. So in effect, without the use of TID Conservation, the TID rollover date of 2024 will become an end of life for the use of existing security modules as well as the vending systems. It is very important that utilities understand the consequences of all of the above. A lot of the impacts relating to STS 6, of course, pertain to keys and the loading of keys, so we'll have a look at those impacts. Eyes tend to glaze over when one talks about key management, so I'll try and keep it simple. But there is some confusion in the marketplace about the STS keys which I attempt to address. Like the TID rollover, the key base date has also become somewhat entangled in the STS 6 requirements. Since the introduction of STS, meters have been issued with meter keys, which are derived from vending keys with a 1993 base date, which is key revision number 1. A new 2014 base date has been defined by the STS Association, and meter manufacturers and utilities should be manufacturing and purchasing these meters with this 2014 base date. Meters with the 2014 base date aren't subject to the same 2024 TID rollover, as their TID rollover date will only be in 2045. So that sounds simple enough. Is this happening? Well, as it currently stands, the challenge is that in order for a utility to start vending tokens to meters with keys that use the 2014 base date, they'd first have to adopt STS 6 and then implement all of the corresponding changes to their processes and systems that we've discussed. So the question then arises, aren't 2014 base dates supported in the current security modules? Well, the existing security modules and key load files allow keys to be loaded with subsequent key revision numbers, but in fact there's no corresponding base date field in the format. There's nothing stopping a utility loading a new key with key revision 2, which represents the 2014 base date. The utility's vending system could then infer that key revision 2 means 2014 and use that to determine the TID value for tokens issued, irrespective of whether the TID conservation algorithm is employed or not. Currently, however, it will not be possible to move the meters that are on key revision 1, i.e. 1993 base date, to key revision 2, i.e. 2014 base date, and clear the TID stack, because the current security modules don't be able to support the TID rollover bit. So as it stands, this arrangement will only work for taking on new meters with the 2014 base date, and not to move meters from the 1993 base date to the 2014 base date keys. A little confused? Well, not to worry. TID Conservation gives utilities the freedom to choose with respect to the TID rollover date. Luckily, TID Conservation has effectively untangled the TID rollover issue for utilities by providing an alternative process to STS 4021. It allows utilities to choose whether and when they wish to adopt the STS 6 features without the implied time limit imposed by the TID rollover 2024. Using TID Conservation, utilities don't need to change any meters, keys, or security modules prior to or even after the 2024 rollover date if they don't wish to. TID Conservation is like insurance against any untoward issues that may arise from following STS 4021 and adopting STS 6. But hurry! It's essential to realize that as every day passes and 2024 approaches, potentially useful TID values are being lost, up to 1,440 a day, and less remain available. Like electricity, it seems TIDs are a limited resource, so the number of TID values available to conserve reduces daily, and the potential TID rollover date reduces accordingly. The TID conservation solution is an invention that is proprietary to Carney SmartWorks and covered by South African complete patent applications as indicated. Patent applications in other territories will be obtained in due course. The TID conservation innovation is available to all vending system suppliers and customers based on a licensing model. Interested parties can contact their vending supplier or us directly to incorporate TID conservation under license. TID conservation, the right to choose. Thanks for watching.